Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. Today, the state senator who was credited with helping to get that property tax plan through, plus our presidential historian, Ray Hagar, has the rundown.
Today's first guest is Senator Randolph Townsend from Reno. What's going to go on at the legislature now that the property tax debate is over? And after that, we have Clay Jenkinson, presidential historian.
And coming up on the Power Pundit panel today, Anjeanette, Damon, Dan Mason, and Andy Barbano. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
This is one of Sierra Power's main generating plants. It's right next door to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. These plants provide all the clean, reliable power that businesses need. TRI has 3 independent power generation facilities on site. For sensitive manufacturing companies and high-tech firms, this benefit is invaluable. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
For more than a decade, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has been helping the community embrace conservation as a way of life. That includes replacing more than 50 million square feet of grass with water-smart landscaping. During the worst drought on record, watering restrictions and tough landscaping codes have reduced the community's water use by billions of gallons, even as thousands of new residents were moving into Nevada. That's smart water management, and that's our promise to Nevada.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on the program, we welcome to our stage State Senator Randolph Townsend. Always a pleasure to have you here, sir.
It's good to be back.
You and Senator Raggio were major players in bringing the two houses' leadership together on the property tax bill. Briefly walk us through the inside story that hasn't been told yet.
Well, very simply, there were two views of the world, and in our house, that we had a third view. And that was the Assembly wanted to take a very moderate position with regard to capping taxes. They sent a bill over. We had a rather interesting floor debate about freezing, and as a result, that failed on a 10 to 11. And then when we went to a conference committee, there were 6 of us, 3 Assembly and 3 Senate, that decided that there was a way in between to not only take care of the problems that we face in Incline, but also in Clark County in terms of the terrible spikes, and still put local government and schools in a position, particularly in the rurals, to meet the minimum standards that they've set for themselves in terms of services.
Senator, now that the property tax debate or the issue has been solved, what do you think?
Has it been solved? I got a feeling it's going to still be.
Well, yeah, maybe the first inning is over.
Okay,
perhaps,
that's fair.
Let's put it that way.
I like those baseball analogies. Yeah,
because it is opening day
yes,
today.
Yeah.
What are the next stop, what are the big issues on deck now? With
the biggest issues right now, and this goes back to the old days. When I say the old days, the first few years I was there, the budget will now drive this debate. Whether it's a $300 million rebate, whether we're going to fund the CIP, which is our construction projects for local districts, or the type of increases we'll give to school teachers, that's going to drive this entire thing. I don't see a whole lot. You'll have construction defects, and you're going to have some banking issues, and you're going to have some, I think there's some fun issues like repeal of term limits. I think you'll see some of those, but the budget's going to drive the rest of the session. And then we're going to end up with a constitutional amendment debate right at the end regarding property and split rolls. And that will be a total bloodbath.
So do you think that we're going to end up still seeing a Prop 13 type initiative coming out?
I have no doubt there'll be an attempt to do that. It won't come through the legislature, but I think you'll see it.
Do you see the lawmakers ending this in the 120-day session?
Oh, without question. Now that we have this behind us, unfortunately what we did is we set this up in a manner that we've got to find incentives to get out of there. There's no incentive to leave early. Everybody gets to stay, and that's a bit of a problem, particularly those in Southern Nevada who get away. They become big shots when they come to Carson City. They have an office and a parking place, and they got a secretary, and they have a title, and they become big shots. Many of these people don't have a life outside the legislature, and that's a tragedy because they don't have a reason to go home. And right now we have gubernatorial politics playing a major role.
Let me ask you about that. Senator Titus didn't get her freeze through. How does this affect her chances in the gubernatorial campaign?
I think that's short-lived. I really do. I think she will still be a tenacious campaigner. She is extremely articulate, very insightful, great on her feet. And at the end of the day, I think you watch her go head-to-head with the speaker. And although I'm from the other party, I do have a good view of this. It's kind of front row seats, a skybox, as it were. I'll tell you, don't ever underestimate Dina Titus. She's a remarkable politician and a hell of a stateswoman.
Well, Senator, isn't it a victory for her in a way that she got 10 votes on the
Oh, absolutely, without question, okay. For a lot of reasons. But she did her job, made her points, made them well, and now we got to move on and deal with the other issues.
Okay, moving on to the Senate Commerce Committee. When are you going to hear the minimum wage bill?
I think that's set for 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks
That should be a real interesting debate because, as you know, it's not just about a dollar here or a dollar there. This is a constitutional amendment.
Right.
That changes the entire dialogue. It ties it to what the feds are doing, and all of a sudden, in my opinion, you're abrogating the authority you've been given by the state of Nevada, and now you want to give it to the feds. I think that debate's going to be a real good one. I think most of the people who are business people that sit on this committee are going to really analyze this in terms of its constitutional amendment quality and the impact there. So this will be a lively one.
Okay.
You got the Office of Consumer Advocate put in place, and so it's kind of surprising to me to see in a Cy Ryan story last week, the Senate voted 12-9 to abolish the cap on interest rates that pawn shops can charge customers, despite predictions that the change would open the door to predatory lending practices.
Well, I don't know whose quote that was, but it's absurd. You have to understand, when you remove caps from anything, what you're going to see is a tremendous amount of capital coming into the state to compete for those customers. And as a result, I think you're going to see rates stabilize. They may go up a little bit in the beginning. They'll stabilize. There'll be a lot of competition, a lot more options for consumers. And as a result, that was something that came to us as a result of the fact that pawn shops got caught up in the 2% gross payroll. And they had no way to deal with that. We thought that was a fair compromise. We'll see what happens when it gets to the House.
Senator, this week, Chris Giuliani will introduce legislation to remove term limits for all senators, assembly people, the governor, lieutenant governor, right down the line. You're affected by term limits. What do you think this is a good bill?
Well, we already had term limits, which we've debated on this program before. You can get rid of the Assembly every 2 years, the Senate every 4, and of course the constitutional officers every 4. And the public has a right to do that. And
at the ballot box.
At the ballot box. When you look at Northern Nevada, were you to take this to fruition, you're going to lose every single senator out of Northern Nevada at the end of term limits. When they're starting to understand the issues better, when they have the little more clout to protect the interests of the North, If that's a good idea, then the public will oppose this. My guess is they've had a chance to look at this now, and in 7 other jurisdictions, it's been overturned as unconstitutional. This is a little different view, and I think Chris brought it forward. I think it's good to have the debate, and we'll see where it goes when it comes out of the House.
It would be very nice to get common sense back into the process here. Do it at the ballot box. Okay, let me ask you this. What's in this legislative session for the little guy? I mean, there's a ton of money in the surplus, but property taxes are going up, funding for teachers, and therefore kids are among the lowest in the country. What's in it in this session for the little guy?
Well, let's don't misunderstand the property tax issue. Owner-occupied single-family residences will be capped at 3% of the bill. That's huge. If you were to take this one spike year out, and you just watched it at maybe 6 or 7%, that's over a 50% reduction. So there's something in a quote for the little guy. The little guy is going to get hopefully more money for education that came in as a result of the tremendous growth, particularly in Southern Nevada, in the economy. We're just on fire, and that bothers many of us because we like things a little more moderate. Because if you've got fire, eventually it goes out, and then you have other problems. I think you're going to see the holes that have been in our budget for a long time, like mental health, finally get done. They're finally building a mental health facility in Southern Nevada. Under the Olmstead Act, requires people to go out of institutionalization into the community. We're the only state in the country actually building mental health facilities. You'll see that. I think there are 100 small things in there, and those may, at the end of the day, be better than just one big thing.
And we are out of time. Thank you so much for being here, as always. State Senator Randolph Townsend. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers with Clay Jenkinson right after this.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
When you need a new employee, how can you be sure who you're really hiring? A background investigation by Employer Links will uncover criminal records, verify the applicant's education, check their credit history and Social Security verification. An investigation will research professional licenses and driver's licenses and let you know why they're unemployed. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And we welcome to the program presidential historian Clay Jenkinson, whose latest book is Becoming Jefferson's People, Reinventing the American Republic in the 21st Century, and a fine read available everywhere.
Everywhere.
Okay, let's start out with this. What did you think of Congress's and the president's actions during the Terry Schiavo case?
I want you to have my new living will that I brought. I got it online this morning. You know, it was demagoguery. Classically defined. Demagoguery is when statesmen, or politicians, let's call them, play upon the fears and passions of the people, not to clarify an issue, but for personal gain or to be moral loudmouths. It was one of the most shameful events in recent American congressional history. This is a private family situation. You know, there are 300 million Americans. The Congress of the United States sank to a debate over one family's internal conflict.
And the president is always railing about the judiciary and activist judges. And wasn't Congress doing exactly what the president has been complaining about?
Of course, and it's also a federalist problem. This had been adjudicated many times in the state of Florida. The state of Florida may have an imperfect system for solving these issues, but it's not for the national government to step in and lecture the state of Florida about how to take care of its own internal questions.
We're talking demagoguery. Are we talking the Terry Schiavo or Social Security issue here?
Well, there's demagoguery in many different directions in the government of the United States, but this was a particularly sick one. It felt obscene to me to have almost 24-hour coverage. Sean Hannity sets up shop outside of the hospice and is almost doing a fundraiser for this family.
And Air America was covering it just as much.
No,
so right and left. I mean,
no, this is not partisan. It was in both sides, except that here's the problem: the Republicans were breaking their own code of federalism and government restraint. The Democrats were craven, afraid to take a stand lest they wind up on the wrong side of public opinion on this question. So we have demagogues and cowards, but almost no true statesmen. Congress is meant to be a deliberative body. There was almost no deliberation.
Can I change the subject for a minute?
Sure.
Okay. Congressman Shelley Berkeley of Nevada said she'd support a move to get rid of the statue of Pat McCarran of Nevada in the U.S. Capitol. It's recently come out that he's was a racist and anti-Semite and left the cap off the toothpaste at night. What do you think of this? Do you think that this statue should be removed after these allegations?
I don't know enough about McCarran to say. In other words, one would want to have some information about this before making a judgment. But if you took out from Statuary Hall every person who was a racist, illiberal, anti-feminist, antagonistic to Native Americans, everyone who had some illiberal sentiments, you'd clear that hall. Okay. I think it's a bad idea.
And Robert Byrd would be removed as well, I would
Robert
imagine.
Byrd would have to go. A number of people who are now sitting in the Senate and the House of Representatives would have to go. I don't think illiberalism is necessarily a block on statesmanship. In fact, Thomas Jefferson would have to go. He's not in Statuary Hall, but he could not survive this test.
Okay, Jefferson is as a Chautauquan, that's your greatest role, perhaps. Do you see a parallel with the Jefferson administration fighting the Barbary pirates and the Bush administration fighting in Iraq?
Yes, these were Islamic militants who were pirates in the North Mediterranean, but the analogy breaks down pretty quickly.
Okay.
This is a world struggle now between radical Islam and corporate capitalism, and it's going to go on for a long time, and it has many roots. But this, in Jefferson's time, these were really a series of pirates with some state support acting independently in the Mediterranean. And Jefferson fought a small war against them. This is where we get some of our Marine Corps mythology. But the struggle was a very limited one in that time.
Okay.
There's a major bestseller that explores Democrats getting religion back into the Democratic camp rather than just being a Republican hot-button campaign issue. We didn't see this phenomenon in the Reagan or post-Reagan years. Why is it resurging now?
Why are the Democrats trying to get nice
God
with religion?
Yeah.
Because the election results are so emphatic that there's a fundamental divide now between blue America and red America. And I think it's clear that until blue America shows actual respect for red America, they can never govern again. I think the snottiness of blue America towards red America, towards conservative values, is offensive to the American spirit. And I think one thing that Bill Clinton understood is that you at least have to pretend that you want red America with you in order to govern this country. So I do think that there's been a dangerous polarization, and the Democrats would wisely not posture in this area, but go listen to red America and see what's on the minds of people in North Dakota and Nevada and Arkansas, and listen to those concerns, because they're not ignorant and they're not bigoted. They're just a little different from the urbane values of the country.
So, in fact, they would be having a conversation which would lead us back to your new book called Becoming Jefferson's People, Reinventing the American Republic in the 21st Century. A great read, and we always thank you for being here.
Delight to be here.
We'll be right back with the Pundits after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. an escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And a fine pundit panel, as always. Andy Barbano is here. He's the editor of NevadaLabor.com. Dan Mason is the program director for KKOH, News Talk 780. And Anjeanette Damon with Reno Gazette-Journal. It's we're going to have to get some of the journalists in here. The paper is getting stacked on this side.
Well, let me start off with my colleague, Anjeanette. The property tax debate is over, at least for now. Maybe the first inning of this is over. Who are the winners and losers out of this thing?
Well, I think maybe politically you can make the argument that it was a good piece of legislation because there aren't many people that are happy with it. I think if you're a homeowner, you live in your own home, you're a winner. 3% a year, you know what's going to happen. Businesses are upset with it because it's kind of a split role, and perhaps you could see a legal challenge. Politically,
and that goes against the constitutional requirement, but they've come up with this idea that all of the residential property tax people are going to be under this hardship, and so it's an amazing amount of people are going to be suffering from this hardship to get this through.
Yeah, that's a question of whether or not voters intended that to be used as a bracket for an entire group of people, or rather they wanted to see specific homeowners come in and prove that they had an economic hardship and were in danger of losing their home. The con on that is you'd have to set up a whole new state bureaucracy to service people to come in and try and explain and show their financial proof that they're having an economic hardship. So the businesses, they went in there and from the Assembly's original bill, they got their hard 8% cap. So they won there also, even though they're not real happy with the entire big picture of it.
Okay, so what are the callers to KOH saying, Dan?
I don't know. I don't do a talk show, so I stay out of that as much as I can.
And if you're doing a talk show right, you can't remember most of what the public said after 2 hours anyway.
Yeah, it's usually about 5 minutes.
You got to cleanse your mind.
Yeah.
I can guess what some of them are probably still calling for a Prop 13. I think you still have that contingent out there that's not going to be happy until you actually see the Prop 13. But we'll see whether or not this legislation has taken the wind from the sails of the people pushing that.
Andy, do you think that's the case?
I think whatever legislation looks like is going to be coming out and signed by the governor is going to be a full employment act for a lot of lawyers. I think it's going to be litigated, and I don't know if there's going to be true property tax relief there. God help us from a latter-day Proposition 13 that would basically start shutting down the schools if that happens.
We litigate everything. That's the way it is nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay, Ray, you're not happy about Pat McCarran's statue being up there in Washington. You want to change the name of the airport down south as well?
Well, I was thinking we could call it Bob's Airport for our, just have an easy name. Bob's a good guy, so let's
go for Bob.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you wanted to treat this with true seriousness here.
No, seriously.
All right.
It's revisionist history. You can't go back and undo
one thing
it,
we have not heard a lot about in the last couple of weeks is rebate. What happened to the rebate, Andy?
The property tax rebate from the DMV rebate, we haven't heard a lot about that. That's what happened every time. It happens every time a pope dies, we lose our DMV rebate. And it's heartbreaking.
I think seriously though, folks, the rebate is going to take center stage now that the property tax issue is over.
They just can't bring themselves to give anything back. Politicians can't do that. It's against their nature. They get heartburn when they even start to think about it.
I think that's a good point, because what I've been hearing out of the education committees, the Assembly Education Committee, is that their constituents say, we don't want the money back. We want it to be put in good, worthwhile programs.
Dina Titus and Richard Perkins will both support the rebate as long as their signatures are on the checks.
They just have to resist. My prediction. You've got to resist the temptation to take all this extra money they've got and spend it.
Well, that's
the biggest mistake that they can make, and they're trying real hard to make it.
One of the reasons why they've kept this to the end is because they have a lot that they want to spend it on, and it's piling up, so you get the different predictions of whether people will actually see a check in their mailbox when you've got full-day kindergarten for $70 million. This property tax relief creates a $45 million hole that they have to fund. There's a lot out there, mental health spending that's going to get in the way.
And they put a few $1,000,000 into gambling addiction treatment, not that piddly $250,000 that Governor Dudley Do-Right's talking about. Put a few million in there.
Let's talk about...
what's that going to do with our tax surplus?
Couple of $1,000,000 for gambling addiction after over half a century of ignoring it. It's past due.
Okay, I want to change the topic here. Brian Greenspun had a very interesting column in yesterday's Las Vegas Sun. He said for a long time, Nevada and other states have been recruiting in the Philippines for skilled nurses, and have been getting them. And now, because that has worked so well, school districts around the country, including our own, are scouring the Philippines for teachers as well. I'm sure they'll teach as well as they nurse, but the irony should be not lost on us. We have to go outside our own country to find qualified teachers who will work for what we're willing to pay to teach our children. Were you aware of this, and
Yeah.
isn't this somewhat shocking?
Many states have been doing this for a while, and the problem in the Philippines is that the United States is pretty much raping their pool of talented individuals to make that country, bring that country up. So that's an unfortunate thing for the Philippines.
There's a military retiree had a letter to the editor in yesterday's Las Vegas Review-Journal that noted that he has to work, and he went to night school and the classes were canceled to try and become a teacher. He has a bachelor's degree and some tremendous experience with 20 years in the military, but because the educational system in Nevada is not geared for people that want to actually get their teacher's credentials, he's been prevented because of the system down there from being able to take the classes to become a teacher. This is an American veteran that wants to become a teacher and can't because of the Southern Nevada educational system. It was a very interesting letter in yesterday's Review-Journal. It's still online.
You know, it was back in the 60s in Britain, they were advertising in Jamaica and other places in the Caribbean to have people come over to work as nurses and be bus drivers, and that changed the whole culture of Britain over the years.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, you know, when you only give teachers 2% raises that don't even keep up with the cost of living, cost of inflation, who wants to be a teacher anymore? There's no money in it.
That's absolutely correct. We don't reward our teachers. We build prisons, and we reluctantly build schools.
And we don't challenge our teachers, and they all make the same amount of money anyway. Merit doesn't have anything to do with it.
And that's where we have to leave it. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
This is one of Sierra Power's main generating plants. It's right next door to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. These plants provide all the clean, reliable power that businesses need. TRI has 3 independent power generation facilities on site. For sensitive manufacturing companies and high-tech firms, this benefit is invaluable. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
And coming up tomorrow?
Well, Sam, we have Dr. John Lilly, the president of the University of Nevada.
It should be a hot show. Join us then. Don't forget, we love your emails at newsmakers@krnv.com and newsmakers@kbbc.com. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.